All right, Tristan, let's talk about the Houston Texans. They're coming off a pretty hot season, 10-7, better than I think anybody thought they would do last season. Stroud obviously came into his role very well. Probably the best rookie we've seen in our lifetime, maybe ever. He's on fire. The whole Texans organization's on fire. They made a big splash in the offseason. They added Joe Mixon. They added Stefon Diggs, which he's already complaining, but that aside, they also all added four-time Pro Bowler Danielle Hunter, who's an edge rusher, and that's going to kind of bolster their pass defense and pass rush. So with all that being said, they open up at 9.5. Do you think they repeat again? Do you think they do better than 9.5, better than 10 wins that they did last season?
Initially, I was thinking like, it's going to be hard to have a repeat. It's going to be hard to meet the expectations now because in 2023, no one expected anything from the Texans, right? They kind of came out of nowhere and surprised everyone. So these teams weren't ready for them. They didn't have, obviously, any film on them or Stroud. Now they're going to have a whole offseason of preparation, whole offseason of preparing. The good thing is they bring Bobby Slowick back to be the offensive coordinator. I think that's a huge deal because anytime you've got a defensive head coach, your quarterback success being tied to an offensive coordinator. If they leave, how does that affect them? Thankfully, they have the same group intact. I don't think C.J. Stroud's going to have a sophomore slump. I think he's just going to get better. I'm okay with the addition of Stefon Diggs because it kind of doesn't hurt him anything. I believe C.J. Stroud is mature enough to handle the situation that is Stefon Diggs because
the charades.
You're right, exactly. Because Diggs kind of needs them more than they need him. Even without him, it's like we got Collins, we got Dale, we got Dalton Schultz. Like we've got a lot of good players. Like Diggs is just a compliment. We want you to add to that. I think the biggest addition of the offseason for the Texans, you mentioned it, was the edge rusher, Danielle Hunter. That's huge. I mean, putting him on the opposite side of Will Anderson, who had an incredible rookie year. I mean, Will Anderson balled out. He should take a step up. They're just good everywhere. They're absolutely good everywhere.
They also added Danico Autry, who's going to be out 6 weeks. Hopefully when he comes back, that'll even add to that defensive front. And then they also added linebacker Azeez Al-Shaair. And he didn't add, but he's coming off his most productive season last season. So I think this defensive front is going to take a step up. I agree with you on the offense. Stefon Diggs definitely doesn't hurt anybody, right? It's not like he's in his prime anymore, but he's still a key piece to this offense. And I think if he's utilized well, I mean, we saw it at Buffalo. I think we'll see it again to some degree at Houston. And I have this team going 11-6 this year, man. I think they take a step up. I think they obviously win the division with 11-6. To kind of show my cards a little bit for the rest of the episode, I do have them winning the division. 11-6 seems like it's not out of reach. If they went 10-7 last year on a what if, well, now you know what the if is, and I think they go 11-6.
I'm right there with you. I am going to go with the over. I think the floor for the team is 9 wins, and so it's at 9.5. I think that's a good line. I just find it hard to believe they take a step back. Like just on paper, like if they went 10-7 last year, I think they've got a better team this year. So obviously a lot of things change, but the division is kind of theirs until someone takes it from them. I think someone could. We can talk about that as we go through the division, but I feel comfortable. The only question mark for the Texans personally is the interior offensive line. Now, out of camp, everyone's been very high. They're very confident, but every team is confident in camp, right? That's kind of the whole thing. Right now, everybody thinks they're good. So I think that is one sneaky thing to watch. If they go under, if they only win 9 games, 8 games, and it's a disappointment, I think it's going to be because of the interior offensive line, that they didn't hold up and protect Stroud to the best of their ability. But right now, I'm going to believe in what I've seen. And ultimately, when you're in the AFC, it comes down to quarterback. There's a lot of pieces. Obviously, we know the defense is going to be good, and you've got one of the best young quarterbacks in the NFL. I just couldn't bet the under. I think Houston's going to have a big season. I think they're going to make the playoffs for sure.
You mentioned the offensive line. That's so Blake Fisher, third-round draft pick out of Notre Dame. They're really going to have to. He's a tackle. They're going to have him play well. I think that he's going to be a really big key piece, even if he doesn't see a whole lot of play time this year. If some of these tackles go down, man, I mean, it's the NFL, right?
Well, that was a problem for them last year. Like their line was good, but they had a bunch of injuries last year in that position group. So you hope that doesn't repeat itself.
Exactly. Like you and I always say, it's games are won and lost in the trenches, and this is going to be one of those years for them. I think the line on the defensive side is going to hold up well, especially with all the additions. We got to see this offensive line hold up as well. Let's not forget that D'Amico Ryan has done more with this team than anybody thought he would in the next 5 years in just 1 year.
Yeah, I agree. And that's why you really think, if you think you've got a great coach and you think you've got a great quarterback, which I think the Texans have both, and a great offensive coordinator, I mean, that's the triple threat. They really should only improve off of last year.